what we learn. Okay. So why we are doing this model driven app Dynamics 360, because we know like we can build our own apps with the help of this model driven apps, right? So for that model driven apps, we have created tables to store data. Okay. Then we have created forms, views for user experience. Okay. Then what we have done, so for any data to apply any rules kind of validations, we have gone through business rules, right? Also, we have explored power effects functions, and we have seen out of the box buttons. Okay. So after that, what we have seen, we have explored how data being managed in the CRM, how we can export and how can we do the export data export import. Now, yesterday we have seen the solutions. How can we move solution across different environments? Okay. So till now, it's all commonly like except business rules, you are not doing any kind of validations, right? So now today, so in general scenarios, people or business need something like whenever they did some operation, they want to automate some process. So suppose if you take you are part of some institute, whenever some new student join that institute, you are expecting kind of a some email, welcoming email, like that you are sending a you want to send a fees reminder. Okay. So like that, you want to automate some processes, right? Suppose when you are purchasing any product, automatically the date, the expiry date you want to update from current date to 12 months. So such things you might expect in real time business scenarios, right? So for that purpose, in our CRM, we have processes. Okay. So I'm going to admin power platform, which is my where I can see the all environments. Okay, I'm selecting my own environment. I'm going to that environment. So today I'm going to new app. So we just discussed like we can create an app from here or you can create it from the maker portal, right? So every day we are creating from there, right? So today I'm creating directly from here. So if you create directly from here, what you need to do, you need to just select the model app plus button. Then you have to click on app name. So assume I'm creating my LUT app. Okay. So here, if you click on the app, so it will ask for you are creating a app. To show that app, to work that app, you need some data, right? So for that purpose, you have to click on pages where you will choose the tables. So for that, choosing student. These entities already created. Okay. Also, I'm just adding one more table, which is nothing but a course. Okay, so what I did, I just created a new app, added my own entities. Now this is a ready to use model driven app, right? So in this app, I want to automate some process. Okay. So suppose whenever a new student is registered, I want to send an email. Whenever a new student happened, I want to send something. So for that purpose, I'm gonna create a process. Today's our topic also workflows. That is one of the process in the D365. Okay. So as a best practice, I'm creating a new solution for today practice. Okay. I'm just choosing the publisher and selecting it. So here, what I want to do, my tables are already there. I'm gonna create a new process, right? So if you see here, whenever I click on this new option, here you could see automation. You have cloud flows, you have custom connector, you have data flow, you have desktop flow, and you have function process. So in this process, we are going to learn OOB workflow. So this one we will call as a YOB workflow because this is kind of a out of the box feature. You are not doing anything. Whatever the out of the box options you have, you are leveraging it. That's why you will be calling this as a out of the box workflows. You will have custom workflows that will be like coded where you write the code. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So let's assume I'm creating a new workflow here. So that's my like welcome email. So whenever a student created, I want to send a welcome email. So if you see here, this is normal naming display name. So here, if I see here, I could see the table option. So what do you mean? You can select the table. Okay. So if you see, you are getting all entities. Now if you see here, account, everything you are seeing, right? So what is my requirement? Whenever a student created, I want to send an email. Okay. So I'm going to find that student email. So MSP. So you're selecting student. SD. So here SD. So I'm just selecting student. Now if you see, while creating workflow itself, it is asking run workflow in the background. Like that it's suggesting. And here if you see, you have start from and you have a template. So start from blank means you are creating from the scratch. If you choose template, you will have some predefined templates in the system, Dynamics 365 system. If you want, you can use them. Okay. So I'm gonna create a new brand blank workflow. So I'm just creating here. So whenever you click on new, it will open this kind of window, the classic UI, where you will see the process. Now if you see the process name already you have given, now you have given process because this one you are going to create as a new blank process. If you want to create this as a process template, you can choose this process template. Okay. Now if you see the entity already selected, so it is selected already, and category is our workflow. And if we see the options for automatic process scope. So while discussing with entities, we were seeing right scope. Whenever you define scope, based upon the scope, it will be available. Suppose if you define organization scope, this component will be available for everyone. Suppose if you created for parent child business unit, that will be available for everyone. But if you see here, student is a organization level entity. Here I could see only organization option. If you go back to student column, student table also, the table will be the organization entity. Either it will be available for everyone or it won't be based upon the roles. Okay. Now if you see what is my table name? Student, right? So if you click on student and adding the component, I'm not adding anything, just I'm selecting all. I just want to see the properties, entity properties. So I just added the empty table. Now if you see here, if you click on this properties, if you see record ownership organization, that's why here you are getting only organization option. Suppose if the table is some owner or team level entity, here you will be getting all those options: organization, parent child business unit, only user. Okay, the, that is the meaning of scope. So if you create this process as an organization, it will be working for everyone, whoever is creating the student records. Okay. Now, if you see, you have the start when. So what do you mean by this? So what I said, with the help of process, we will we will be automating some kind of process, right? So when do you want to start that process? So here if you see record is created, record status change, record is assigned, record field change, record deleted. So like this, you have two main options, right? So these options we will call it as a triggers out of the workflow triggers. So what does it mean? So whenever you do this operation, the process will invoke, the process will trigger. Okay. So this is about start when. Now if you see here in the left hand side, you have run this workflow in the back end. So what do you mean by back end? We will show that. So we will have two types of workflows here. One is background workflow or asynchronous workflow. The next one is real time or synchronous. If you see here, you have one button convert to real time. Whenever you click on this convert to real time, the option this will be unchecked if you see. Okay. I have just clicked on convert to real time. Now this will be unchecked. So what I mean, this process will be executed in the real time. If I keep it in the background, it will be executed in the back end. Okay. Clear, right? So what I mean, now it is running in the real time. Okay. Now if you see, you have some as an on-demand process and you have some more option as a child process. We will see them. Okay. Now if you see scope is already defined organization, you want to trigger it on a student record creation. And what you want to do here in this step, you will be define what you want to do. So whenever a student record is created, I want to create a new contact. Let's assume. So for that purpose, you need to choose a create record because you want to create a new contact record means you have to select the rate. So here I'm choosing contact. Okay. So what is my table name? Contact. Now, whenever you want to create contact, you have to define the values, right? So you here in the set properties, you will be mapping the values. So what is the fields? Now if you see you have job title, account name, everything it is there, right? So if you see the full name is you are not able to add it here because in the contact table, full name is a combination of first name, last name that will be automatically concatenated. So I have to fill first name, last name. Okay, now I'm just looking for first name field. Here you have it. So let's assume this is I'm hard coding LUT. Last name will be like student. So what I'm doing here, I have given values. Whenever you want to create a contact, for that contact, these are the columns, right? So now you are mapping the columns. You are giving values. So I just created. Now, what's the next step? Same like business rules. Whenever you want to activate anything, you will be activating it. So I just added the trigger. I just created the step here and activating it. So what will happen now? Whenever a new student is recorded, this will be triggered. Okay. So as I'm just using course contact, right? So I will be adding the contact table as well here. Okay. So here I'm in the Dataverse table page. I'm gonna add contact. Now all these available. I'm just making changes as I modified the app. Now I'm playing it. So I also activated process, right? So I can create records. Now if you see, I'm just creating a new record here. So I'm giving the name. So whatever something. LUT1. So the remaining fields are not mandatory. So I'm not giving anything. Okay. So now I'm saving the record. So what will happen if you make save? So as per our process, it has to create one new contact record, right? So we will check that. So LUT student got created. So how it is created? Whenever a student is created, you have a process to create this record from this process out of the workflow. So like that you are creating. But if you see here, you are using the constant values, right? So if you create one more also, it will be same name. So if you create one more also, if you go to contacts, you will be having same name. But in the real time, you want to create with same names, right? You have to pick the values dynamically. Okay. For the dynamic values, in this process, we have an option to choose. Okay. So to modify this process out of the box workflow, I'm just deactivating it. Okay. So I just deactivated it. And if you click on properties again, here you could see the what you want, what you are expecting this the first name and last name you want to make a unique. Okay. So for that purpose, so if you see here in the right hand side, you have dynamic values. So instead of this hard coded strings, you want to keep a dynamic value. So for that one, if you see by default, you are getting look for student. This is the entity on which process is triggered. Also, you see all these are related entities with the okay. So I am choosing student name field. This is the name field. So I want to add here. Where do I want to add? I want to add the last name. Okay. So you need to just click on this add. Once this field is available here, you need to click on OK. So once what will happen? So whatever the value you are giving to course student level, sorry, I need to choose name. Whatever the name you are giving at student level, that will be come to here. That's the mapping here. Okay. If you see here, so if you fill the last name, what earlier we have given some hardcode value. Now what you are giving, what you are doing, you are mapping name column of student to last name of the contact. Okay. Now I'm just saving and close. I made some changes, right? So now the process in draft state. We need to activate it again to make it work. So till now, if you see the process is running in the background real time only, but you are not able to find. I will give an example for that as well. Now, if you see, I'm just refreshing this. I'm creating one more record. Okay. Now, if you see, I'm just saving and closing. So if you click on this refresh button, you will be getting contact. Now, if you see earlier, it was creating with LUT student, but if you for now whatever the name you are giving at student level, that name is coming to contact. So like that, we will be using the dynamic values. Okay. If you create one more also, sorry, I need to create student. Suppose if you create one more student also, automatically this name will be mapped and a new record will be created. Okay. So with that help of dynamic values, you will be using the dynamic mapping. Any questions still here? Okay. Now what I said like this process is running in the runtime, but you couldn't see, right? So for that purpose, to make it effective, what I do on this student entity only, I will modify some other field. Suppose whenever whenever student enters, I will set this registration date. Okay. So with this example, you will understand what we mean by real time, what we mean by background. So for that purpose, whenever you want to modify the process, you need to deactivate it. Then only it will be editable. So I just deactivated. Now it is running in real time for now. So what I want to, in addition to the contact creation, I want to update the record. So which record I want to update for the same student entity I want to update, right? So you have to click on update. Here by default you will be getting student or the related entity or entities created by steps. You can update contact as well. So for now I'm choosing my student entity. So set properties. In the if you click on set properties, it will display all fields from the student entity. Okay. So what I want to fill whenever student is record is created, I want to update this registration date. Let's assume whenever the record is created, the registration date should be that day. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just selecting 10. Okay, so I made change, right? So I need to activate it. I just click on activating it. It will ask for confirmation. You have to click on activate. Now what will happen? A new step added to this workflow. Now I gonna test, right? So going back to my app, I'm just refreshing this model app. So I'm gonna create a new student record. So because my process will be triggered on student record creation. So I'm giving new name. You can give any name. This is a plain text. Okay. Now I'm just clicking on the save. Now if you see, whenever you're clicking on save, it took some time and it is updated immediately this registration date. Suppose if you make this process in the back end, you won't see that you won't see immediately. That is the difference between real time and background. Now I'm converting the same flow to background. So now the flow is running in the background and I'm converting to activate it. Now I'm going to test again, right? So I'm just refreshing again. This is active. I'm clicking a new record. So, so now if you see, you have a process to update this registration date, but still, is it reflecting immediately? If you select the real-time process, that is helping us to affect immediately here. As you are using a background, you need to do a extra refresh to see the data. Okay. If you see when I refresh this, it got it. But whereas in the first scenario, as you are using the real-time workflow, as a real-time workflow, that the data, the actions will be happened immediately. So that's the difference between real-time and background. Any questions here? Okay. Now for the date also, what I did, I'm just using the hard-coded value 1010, but I don't want to use hard-coded value because the student is created tomorrow. I want the date automatically updated to tomorrow's date. So for that purpose also, if you see in the set properties, if you see the left hand side for the dynamic values, you have the all values, right? So you instead of this hard coded, you need to choose the value he is here. Okay. Now if you see set to clear. Now if you see here under student, you have local values. One is create contact, the next one is process. Process means when does process triggered? Process execution time. You can click on add. Now we will add this execution time to here. So what will happen here? Whenever the process trigger here, that time it will be capture the date and it will be updating there. Any questions here using dynamic values for dates? Same like earlier case. In the contact first name, last name, we have just getting the name from student, right? So to get the real date, whenever the process is executing, I am getting it from the process. From the process, we are using execution time. Okay. Here you have only execution time, right? So you are adding that. Simple. Now I'm activating. So this time I'm converting to again real time. So you will be getting the date immediately. I'm making it activate. Done. So I'm creating one more record. Okay. Clicking on save. So now we say registration date automatically updated here because it's a real time. The date also updated here. If you created tomorrow, the date automatically updated to 11/9/2025. You don't need to worry about it. Okay. So that's how the real time, the dynamic values help us to make the effective values instead of hard coded things. Okay. Any questions here? Okay. So this is all about the real time and background. And we have few other options, right? As an on-demand process. So if you see here, what is the purpose of this out of the box workflow? Whenever a record is created, you want to execute it. On top of it, you want to run manually as an on-demand. Okay. If you select this as an on-demand, you can run it from whenever you want again. Okay. So for that purpose, let me activate it. Okay, let's go back to student records. So here we have created few records, but if you see the columns, few has registration date, few doesn't have. What is the other field? Okay, few has registration dates, because if you see the last three has the registration date, because by the time I created the process to update the registration date, but whatever the records created before, it doesn't have the registration date, because by that time I don't have the updating the step. Now I want to update, I want to run the process for this first three records or four records. Okay. In that purpose, if you choose this as an on-demand process, you can run this workflow logic whenever you want to. Okay, for student records. On-demand by naming itself, what do you mean? So you can make it, you can call it on-demand. Okay, instead of trigger, you can call the workflow by on-demand. Okay. Now if you see, I'm just selecting these three records. So if you see, whenever you select any record, you are seeing this flow option. Okay, if you see here, run workflow, it is showing. So means for these four records, as I didn't run the logic during the trigger, I want to explicitly invoke my workflow logic. So in that purpose, you have to select the records. You need to use this flow options. Now you need to click on this run workflow. Click on this welcome email. So this workflow will be applied to four students. You can monitor the workflow jobs. Okay. Now I just executed it. Now to reflect the data in the view, obviously we have to refresh the records, even though it is a real time, because view won't update at a time, right? Now if you see, I am adding the registration date again. Now if you see, everyone has registration date, because for the the five six records, this was triggered during the record creation. For the rest of records, I just made the on demand, right? So that's why you can have a record trigger at the same time. You can have a as an on demand process. If you have this as an on demand process, means you can call this workflow whenever you want. Suppose because of some issue in the during record creation, it got failed. In such cases, you can call it again with from this option. Okay, run workflow option. Any questions here? Okay. Now, if you see here, we have one more option as a child process. So, what do you mean by as a child process? Suppose in this workflow, here we have create logic, update logic, create contact record, update student. This create contact, I don't want to have it here. Suppose if you have some big logic, big validation here, you want to calculate it from some other place, some other flow. So let's create some other flow as well. Okay. I'm just deleting the step here. So what I will do, I will be creating one more process. I'm going to my solution. Whenever you need a child means you should have one parent, one child, right? That's why I'm creating one more. So here we have this default process. Let's assume this is the parent. I need some child. So for that purpose, you have to go to new automation, click on process. You will be having three, choose workflow. So like you can give like child contact creation. You can give the same name. Now if you see here you want to run on, when do you want to run this? For the same student entity, right? So you have to choose student only. So I'm selecting blank only, clicking on create. So for this flow, what I will do, I will make this as a child process. Okay. I'm unchecking this record is created because I want to run this flow from another flow, not directly. So whenever you say not directly, you shouldn't have any trigger. You shouldn't have this as on demand process checkbox. Okay. So here what I will do, I will just create record step here. I'm just choosing contact. Now here same, you will have full name, last name, everything, right? So for the full name, what we said, that will be, we need to apply here in the here. So last name we were using student name, right? The same thing I'm selecting here again. You have to add it here. Click on this name. Click on OK. It will be added. Okay. Now you can give the names as well for steps. Create contact. So I'm just activating this. So now I have one child flow and I have a parent flow. What I want to do now, this create contact operation, I am having it in some other flow. That flow I want to call it from here. So here earlier we could have create contact step here, right? I just moved that step to child workflow. Now what I'm doing in the add step, I am adding start a child workflow option. So whenever you choose start a child workflow, here it will be displaying student entity or some other entity you want to choose. Now here you can choose the all child workflows available for this entity. As of now, we have only one child contact creation. So it is showing only one. You need to choose that. So here I am giving the step creating record through child workflow. Okay. So what will happen now? Whenever I create a record, it will update the student property, the registration date, and in the next step, it will be creating a new contact record. I haven't done nothing. I just organized the steps. Earlier, we used to have contact step here only, create contact step. Now I just moved that step to another place. Okay. Now go back to our records. This is activated. Now if you see you have students, I'm gonna create new student. To make it easy, see sixth, I need to give student 7. Okay. I'm just giving LUT 7. I'm just clicking on save. As man is the real time, this will be updated immediately. If you go to contact also, there will be a new 7th record will be there. Okay. Do you see it here? LUT 7. See, now it is updated. So if you see, so the same action we are doing from a child workflow. You got it right. What do you mean by child? What do you mean by parent? So why do we need child workflows, parent workflows? You can have it everything in a single workflow, right? So in the now with for example purpose, we are just using single step. But in the real time, you can have multiple conditions, right? Let's assume here, instead of calling child workflow directly, whenever whenever you want to set something. So suppose if you see here in the add steps, you have check conditions. Some conditions are there, right? If you see, click on this check condition, So you can add steps. When do you want to check? So let's assume like if student name doesn't contain like this, then only I want to trigger. So I just added a condition for this. Now, now what I want to do, whenever student name doesn't contain LUT, then time only I want to create a record. So whenever you are adding this much conditions, if you have too many conditions, what will happen? The flow will be little tough to manage, right? So you will be segregating your operation. Create a record is a simple operation. You can have it in separately. In this, select this row, you can add a step again. What you want to do here, you want to start a child workflow, right? So you are just selecting it. Under student name content doesn't contain LUT, you are selecting child workflow. Okay. So I'm gonna delete this step because I have it in the below, right? So what it will do, whenever create contact, whenever a new name comes, you can have any label. Okay. So I'm just have it here. Then clicking on save. Then you need to activate the record. Now I'm activating. So what will happen now? So whenever you give a new name other than the LUT, then only contact will be created. Now we have how many 12 are there, right? So I'm going to create a new name. So test NH and clicking on save. So as this is a new name, it will call a workflow. So it will, what will happen? It will create a new contact. Okay. Now if you see as the child workflow is in the back end, it's running in the background. If you see this is running in the background, right? And this workflow. That's why you need to make a extra refreshes to see the data. Otherwise, it will be otherwise if you make it that also real time, it will be effective immediately. Any questions here? So now the third 13th one I added. Suppose if I created one more record with same LUT format. So as it is passing, it's not satisfying the condition, right? You can't see it here in the even after multiple refresh also you can't see it because here you have a condition like LUT student name doesn't contain LUT. So it will check. So the name shouldn't contain LUT, then only it will follow. So like this, you will be having parent child, synchronous, asynchronous. You can have it various state, various triggers as well. Okay. Now if you say I'm just using record is created. Instead of record created, you can trigger it on record status change or you can select the field change. So whenever you choose record field change, it is showing all these options, all the fields on which field change you want to trigger it. Okay. Suppose whenever email enter, I want to execute something, single line of text. So in such purpose also, you need to select the fields, one field or two fields. You have to select them. Now if you see, when for the record creator, you're not getting any option. So if you see here, just let me refresh. So whenever you are choosing record is created, you are not getting any option. So what does it mean? Once record is created, it will trigger. But whenever you select record field change, you are getting these options after before. Means before change you want to execute or after change you want to execute. Getting? So suppose email. So email before means this will be triggered before email change operation. Okay. Any questions here? I'm just activating it. So what I did, I just choose the field change as well. Which field I choose? Email, right? Suppose if I give So I'm modifying name as well. Same time, I'm modifying the email. As per my process, this will be trigger, right? Whenever you are changing email, my process will be invoked because you have a field change event, right? Email. So I'm changing name and email. So what will happen? The new name will be test NH, right? So it will be pass the condition. Okay. So if you go to records, you will be getting one more record because whatever the value it is picking before, right? So it will be getting the test NH value. Any questions under understanding these triggers? Rizwan, Satish, Nikhil. Now, so you will be working on multiple, right? But you want to see the logs, what happens to my stage, whether it is created or it is triggered or not. You want to know, right? For that purpose only, you will see workflow log retention. Keep logs for workflow whenever job encounters. If you uncheck this one, for every workflow, it will be stored in the process sessions. Okay. So let's see that. So I'm just making this. So what will happen whenever record is created by flow will trigger and I'm keeping logs for workflow join jobs, right? So I'm gonna see that now. I'm creating a new record, test NH3. I'm not giving any details, clicking on save. So because of real time, it is triggering this. Now because of thing you have a test NH3 as well, real time. Now if you go to process, we click on this process sessions. Let me refresh it. Welcome email. Click on process sessions. There are no. If it's not showing here, you can go to other place. You can go to in the left hand side in the Power Platform administration settings, environment settings. You will have system jobs. Now, if you see here, everything will be captured for this. So, if you sort it on based upon time, newer to older. So, whenever I create a test in S3, it is showing system job name, contact creation is triggered, and it is status is succeeded. Suppose if you have any issue, that it will be shown here, like it is failed. You want to show all entities here, or if you want to have failed jobs, all workflow jobs, all failed, somewhere you will have all workflow failed. Otherwise, you can just keep a filter here. Instead of succeeded, you can have a failed, waiting in progress, pause, failed, everything. So if you click on failed, if you see here, so these many jobs are failing, workflow system jobs are failing. So if you open any job, it will have the info. What happened to that? If you click on the details, the sync operation 40 is not recognized. So this is some kind of error. So whenever you do, you check this logs, uncheck this log, keeps logs the workflow jobs encounters errors. What does it means? Whenever error happen, you want to store it, this will be happening. Suppose if you don't want to happen, if you want to track every time, you need to uncheck this. Okay. Any questions here in the process sessions? Okay. Now if you see, so I just created a process. And if you see in the general tab, you have all the info about process. What is the name? What is the entity? When it will trigger? What kind of operation is it? Sync or a sync? Everything. If you see, you are having some administration tab. Now, if you see, this is the account on which this process is running. So right now, whenever a user create a process, by default, the owner will be that user only. But in sometimes real time, what will happen? The user may not have the system admin privileges, the top privileges. Because in this process, you are doing record creation, you are doing update, you are doing all operations. So to do all operations, they should have the access, right? So in the real time, you need to make sure like whatever the owner you are having the for process, that should be the top owner, that should have all access. Okay. Suppose you are creating a flow, but you don't have the system admin to create a contact, but still you are created a process. It will accept, but if while running, it will throw an error like you don't have privilege, something like that. Sometimes it won't trigger even. So the owner should be the account which you want to run on. Okay. Now if we see for the contacts, if I added created by, everything will be on my name. Why? Because the flow owner is mine, right? Created by LTR of admin. Suppose if I change flow owner to someone else who has access this LUTP environment, now suppose if I change to some other user, let's assume I am changing to her because she has access to this environment. I am changing activate. Now I'm just gonna create a one more student, SNH4, save. Okay, if you go to contacts, you have this already, right? I'm just refreshing. 14 we have. So 15th is created. Yeah, but if you see here it is create used my account still because I am creating with child account. I need to make change here actually. Okay. I'm not creating directly here, right? I'm using child process to call this is record creation. So here I am making editing it. Click on activate. Now if you create a record, student record, click on save. So as per my logic, as it doesn't contain LUT, it will go to create step. And as per my owner concept, it has to create new, right? It is still picking mine. Test NH5. Okay, I will tell that. And if you see, whenever you are using a run this workflow in the background, you could see one banner. We recommend using Microsoft Flow instead of background workflow. Whenever you are using process, real-time process, for that one you are not showing any alert. So what do you mean by this Microsoft Flows? In the next classes, we are going to learn that only. The Power Automate earlier we used to call Microsoft Flows. So if you click on this Microsoft Flow, it will be land on this Microsoft link where it will show to create cloud flows, everything. So these cloud flows are nothing but Microsoft Power Automate. Okay. So what happened to our that this is still not my name. How come? I'm just deactivating again. Going to administration. Going changing back. Looks like it's not updated properly. Save. Okay, now if you go to administration, you have Sirisaja only. Let me create one more record. Next 6. Okay. Now if you see here in the contacts, I'm gonna refresh. Next 6. Still it is taking mine. How come? Continue. Let me go check for students at least. Adding a created by column. All are by me. Ideally, whenever you have it owner, the whatever the operations, everything you are doing, that will be run with this administrator function. Suppose you have given some user, they left the organization. So in that scenario, this account will be deactivated, right? So in such scenarios, this process will also affect. So what in real time, what they will do, the owner will be they will use service account. So for every CRM project, they will have a service account. So with the service account only, they will try to create all process owners, everything. Okay. Any questions here? Okay. And I was missed to cover one topic in the data management class. So that day we have seen data management, right? Now if you see here, you have too many records here, but you want to know, suppose earlier it was LUT2. Suppose if I change back to something else, you want to know, right, who changed this record, what happened to this thing. So for that purpose, we have a audit in the CRM. Now, if you see here in the Power Platform environment settings, you have administration, right? If you go to this administration, you will be having auditing. So whenever you open this auditing, it will open the Power Platform. And if you see manage logging for Dataverse data, what do you mean by logging? So suppose whenever you are entering some community, they will the security will capture your info, right? Who enters, when enters, what's the purpose of visit, everything. Same like when someone is modifying the data in your system, you have to know, right, who modified, when modified, everything. So to capture that one, we have to enable this feature, start auditing. So I'm just click on start auditing. Now if you see, this is I'm just selecting for return logs this log for forever. Instead of forever, you can have it for 30 days, 90 days, 1 year, everything, whatever you required. Okay. And just clicking on save. So what will happen? What will happen now? For this environment level, you just enable the auditing. But you want to have it for record level, right? For what happened to this contact record, what happened to this student record. So for that purpose, what you will do, you have to enable audit at the table level. So for the table level enabling, you have to go to tables, click on student. If you go to properties, again in table properties, because you want to enable auditing for table level, right? So you need to go to table level properties, click on advanced options. Here you have audit changes to its data. You have to enable this audit changes to its data. So what will happen? You have you have it enabled in the organization level. You have it enabled in the table level. So for now, I just enable for only student. So it will apply for only student entity. It won't apply for contact. It won't apply for other course entity. Okay. So what are the entities you need for auditing? You need to enable for each at the entity level. Okay. Now what I'm doing, I'm just modify these values again to something else. Okay. So where can I see that audit log, whatever we discussed? If you click on this related, you have audit history. Now if you see LT4 admin, at this time, they have updated the old value this to new value. So everything will be captured. If you make something else, again it will be captured. Who is the user? What is the old value? What is the new value? Okay. So suppose if multiple people working on a single record, we can check like who updated, who uploaded the record, who modified the values, who corrected the data. Everything you can see it with audit history. Any questions here in audit history? So I was telling that the process sessions will be available. Now if you see, as I just enabled auditing, all those appeared here. It was not appearing earlier, right? It was blank because the start editing logs, read logs, this was turned off for org level. That's why you are not able to see. Now, if you click on for this other also, you will be seeing everything. Okay. Otherwise, you can just create a new contact. It will be captured. Okay. Any questions? So from today onwards, these topics are very important for the real-time exercise, real-time practice. So don't miss to do. Okay. Because till now, whatever we learned, the forms creation, fields creation, table creation, those are like normal. But this process basically you are defining something when to happen, what to everything, right? So these are real time for every project you will be having a number of projects, everything. Okay. Sure, then. Tomorrow we will be continuing. Today we have seen only one option, right? Here in the automation process, we have seen workflow. Tomorrow we'll be continuing with business process flow. Okay. Sure, then. I'm stopping. Any questions? Sure, thank you.
No worries.